Magandang buhay! Teacher Chimey is back! Sa mga bago lang po sa channel ko, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Thank you!
A pleasant day to all. Good day, kids. For this week, I will be discussing to you the two objectives or lessons for our math subject. So our lesson for this week will be about visualizing addition and subtraction of similar and dissimilar fractions, and visualizing subtraction of a fraction from a whole number. These are the two objectives or competencies that you need to understand. So for the duration of this video, please listen and write down important details in your notebook. This time, let's have a background about similar fractions and dissimilar fractions. So the first one is about similar fractions. So it is stated here that similar fractions are fractions with the same denominator. So, how do we identify similar fractions? It said here that similar fractions have the same denominators. Ibig sabihin, pareho yung kanilang denominators. So as you can still remember from our previous lesson last time, denominators are those numbers below our fraction bar, right? Okay. So fractions or similar fractions should have the same denominator so that it will be classified as similar fractions. So if we have 5 here as denominator, the next fraction should also have 5 as denominator. So we have 1/5 and 2/5. So these two fractions are what? Similar fractions. It is because they have the same denominator. Meron silang parehong denominator. Nakikita nyo ba? Nandito sa 1/5, 5 yung denominator niya. Then sa 2/5, 5 din. Okay. So again, 1/5 and 2/5 are similar fractions because they have the same denominators. Okay, let's have another example. Okay, 4 4/9. So, what fraction should we write for us to have similar fractions here? What denominator should we use? Of course, still number 9. Like this. 4/9 and 6/9 are similar fractions because they both have the same denominator, which is 9. Okay. So do you now understand what is similar fractions? So again, similar fractions are fractions with the same denominators. Let's proceed to dissimilar fractions. It is stated here that dissimilar fractions are fractions with different denominators. Okay, dissimilar, different. Again, we have here dissimilar fractions. These are fractions with different denominators. If we say different, magkaiba, or lain. So if in similar fractions we have 5/10 and 3/10 with the same or parehong denominator, here in the similar fractions, the fractions have different denominators, like 5 and 10. We have here 2/5 and 3/10. So as you can see, the denominator of 2/5 is different with the 3/10. So lain ang fraction or ang lain ang denominator nila dere. That's why they are called dissimilar fractions. So let's have another example. We have here 4/8 and 3/12. So 4/8 and 3/12 have different denominators. So these are dissimilar fractions. I hope you now understand the difference between similar fractions and dissimilar fractions. Similar fractions have the same denominators or pareho ang ila denominator, and the dissimilar fractions have different denominators or magkaiba ang kanilang denominators. Now, let's proceed to our lesson for today about visualizing similar and dissimilar fractions. So, how do we visualize fractions? If we say visualize, we need something for us to see it, right? So, kailangan natin ng isang bagay na pwede nating makita. So, sa pamamagitan ng ano ba? Ano ba yung gagawin natin para meron tayong makita or ma-visualize natin ang pag-add at ang pag-subtract ng fractions. So, here, it is stated that we can visualize adding similar and dissimilar fractions by illustrating or by illustrations and by using the fraction chart, just like below. There are other ways also to visualize adding and similar and dissimilar fractions like number lines, graphs, pie chart, and this fraction chart here is one of the examples. So with the help of this, you can see how we add and subtract fractions. For now, let us discuss this fraction chart. Here you can see the top portion, that the part is only 1, right? Then the next one, it is divided into 2. So every part has 1/2 each. But the whole of it is equivalent to 2 halves. Because if we add 1/2 plus 1/2, we will have 1 whole, or 2 halves, or is equivalent to 1. So the next one is 1/3. The whole is divided into 3 parts, which we have here 1/3 each. If we add all of the 3 parts, we will have 3/3. So if we add, or the equivalent fraction of 3/3 is also 1. Next, we have here 1/4. The whole is divided into 4. That's why each part has 1/4. Okay. Then the next one, the whole is divided into 5. So each part is 1/5. Next, the whole is divided into 6 parts. So we have 1/6 each of its part. Next, the whole is divided into 7 parts. So each part has 1/7. Next, the whole is divided by 8. So each part has 1/8. Then the next one, the whole is divided into 9. So we have here 1/9 each. Then the whole is divided also into 10. So we have here 1/10 each. Then it goes on and on. Whatever number or denominator we want to divide. It's like here 11 and 12. The higher the number, the lesser value for each part. It's like if you compare 1/2 and 1/3, 1/2 is greater than 1/3. So remember that. So again, we can visualize adding similar and dissimilar fractions by illustrations and by using fraction chart. It's like there below. So because we have an idea, or you have already an idea of what to use and the background about similar fractions and dissimilar fractions, we will now discuss how to visualize addition and subtraction of similar fractions, or what are the steps in visualizing addition and subtraction of similar fractions. So here are the steps. For similar fractions, let us read all together. Draw the regions or illustration or use fraction chart of the given fraction. To add similar fractions, just add the numerators, then write the sum as a fraction using the common or the same denominator. Reduce to lowest term if applicable. So later on, I will show to you the steps on how to visualize adding similar fractions. But for now, let's just go over to the steps. Here, for the next is how to subtract similar fractions. Still, we have to draw the regions or illustrations. Then we subtract the numerators, then write the difference as a fraction, still using the common or the same denominator, and we always have to reduce to lowest term if applicable. So let's have this as an example of adding similar fractions. We have here Anna ate 3/7 of the chocolate, and Ben also ate 2/7 of it. How many did they eat in all? So we can draw a rectangle divided into 7 parts. So we have here, and each part has 1/7. May-ari na kita diri nga chocolate. So, si Ana, pinaganing ginkaon ni Ana. So, ilang parte yung kinain ni Ana? Meron tayo ditong 3/7. So, tatlong 1/7. Lahat-lahat na yan ay 3/7. So, yan ang kinain ni Ana. Then, 2/7 naman ang kinain ni Ben. Ang tanong is, how many did they eat in all? So, ang 3/7 and 2/7, ano nga ang klase ng fraction ito, class? Similar fraction ba or dissimilar fraction? Tingnan nyo ang denominator. 7 dito, then 7 rin dito. So, ano itong fraction na ito? Similar fraction ba or dissimilar fractions? So, because they have the same denominators, 3/7 and 5/7 are what? They are similar fractions because they have the same denominator. So we are asked of how many did they eat in all. Okay, how many did they eat in all? So we have to add the 3/7 and 2/7 so that we would know how many parts of the chocolate have they ate already. So 3/7 plus 2/7. So when adding, only the numerator is being added. Muna ni ang aton i-add. So 3 plus 2 is equals to what? 5. And then, if we go back to the previous slide, it was stated here that using the common or the same denominator, we will just use the common denominator. So we will not add anymore the 7, but we will just copy. Okay? Remember, the numerator should be added, but the denominator will stay the same. So 3 plus 2 is 5. Then copy the denominator, which is 7. So they ate 5/7 of the chocolate. So it means that the chocolate was divided into 7 parts. So there are still remaining 2/7 of the chocolate. But they already ate the 5/7 of the chocolate. Do you now understand? So with this illustration, you can visualize addition of fractions. So it will really help you a lot because you can see the distribution of fractions. Okay, let's now go over to subtraction, still in similar fraction. For the second example, let us analyze this problem. Lani took 6/7 of the chocolate. And with the 6/7 of what he took, he gave the 3/7 to Lonnie. How many were left to Lani? So previously, si Lani daw ang kumuha ng 6/7 ng chocolate, di ba? May kinuha siyang 6/7. Pero yung 3/7 ay binigay niya kay Lonnie. So here, we can see that 6/7 and 3/7 have the same denominator. So it means that we are still dealing with similar fractions because they have the same denominator. So we will still follow the steps in solving similar fractions, which will only involve addition or subtraction using their numerator. So because we are asked how many were left, it means that we have to subtract, right? So 6/7 minus 3/7 is equals to 6 minus 3 class. Ang 6, ibanan tas ang 3. Ila ang bilin? Ilan na lang yung natira? 3, 7. So 6 minus 3 is equals to 3. Then we just copy the 7, which is our common denominator. So still we will use 7. So the final answer is 3/7. So only 3/7 of the 6/7 were left to Lani. If originally Lani has 6/7 part of the chocolate, because she gave the 3/7 of it to Lonnie, she only have 3/7 left to her. So I hope you now understand how to add and subtract similar fractions. So, if an example or if a problem, for example, you are given a problem which tells about a pie or a pizza. What is the shape of a pizza? how can you visualize it? So if you're dealing with a pizza, you will not draw a rectangle, right? So what shape will you draw? Of course, you will use a circle for you to visualize the pizza. And as always, if you are dividing a shape into, because we are dealing with fractions, you should divide it equally. Just like the illustration here. You should always remember that fractions have always equal parts, or it is divided equally. So that's how you visualize it. So we are done subtracting and adding similar fractions and how to visualize it. So in your modules or learning activity sheets, you will discover a lot of examples about how to visualize adding and subtracting similar fractions. So this video instruction is made for you to understand the step-by-step process. So I hope you are now ready to answer your modules and learning activity sheets with the help of this instructional video. So next one, we will now proceed to the addition and subtraction of the similar fractions. And still, we are going to visualize it. So, we are done with the similar fractions, fractions with the same denominator. But now, we are dealing with dissimilar fractions or with different denominator. So, here are the steps on how to add dissimilar fractions. First, you have to look for the LCD or LCM. LCD means what? Least common denominator. Because we are dealing with fractions, we will use LCD. Last time you also know already about LCM, right? But because we are dealing with fractions, we will use the term LCD or the least common denominator. The lowest common denominator of the given fractions. Next, we have to draw the regions or illustration or number line of the given fraction for you to visualize it. Always remember that in visualizing, you have to draw the regions or illustrate it. And the third one, change dissimilar fractions to similar fractions. Number 4, add the similar fractions. And then, number 5, or the last step, reduce to lowest term. Okay. So here is an example. When adding or visualizing, adding and subtracting dissimilar fractions. As you can see, we have here the given fraction, 1/2 and 2/5. So as you can see, 2 and 5 have different, 1/2 and 2/5 have different or magkaiba ang kanilang denominator, di ba? So, kapag babalikan natin yung step, we have to look for the LCD first. Okay, now, by using the listing method, we will have this from 2. So, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, then 5, 10. So, the least or the first number that we can get that is common if we list the common multiple of 2 and 5 is number 10. So we will have 10 as the least common denominator of 1/2 and 2/5. Okay? So remember to get the LCD. So 10 here will be your LCD, the least common denominator. Okay, so now, let us draw the regions or illustrate or number line of the given fraction. So we will use the fraction chart. So 1/2, we have here the 1/2 plus 2/5. So we'll be needing 2 1/5 for us to get 2/5, right? So here we have 1/2 and 2/5. The shaded region are the given fractions, the original given fractions. But here, if we will look into the fraction with our LCD, you will see how it will be converted into similar fractions. So now, here, focus to this part. In this part, 1/2 and 2/5 are still what? Dissimilar fraction. But later on, it will be similar fractions by using the LCD 10. So now, how do we change dissimilar fractions to similar fractions? First, you have to divide the LCD by the given denominator of your dissimilar fraction. Okay, like this, follow me, okay? So, 10 divided by 2. So, how many 2 do we have in 10? We have 5, right? Then, if you get the quotient already, 5, we will get 5 as our quotient. You have to multiply the quotient to your original numerator to get the similar fraction. So 5 times 1 is 5. So 1/2 is equal to 5/10. So here, class, as you can see here, if we look into 1/2, the shaded part of it, or the line, and that whole is divided into 10, as you can see, it will take 5/10 to cover also 1/2 of the whole. Okay? So now, how about the 2/5? What is the equivalent of it? So 10 still divided by 5. How many 5 do we have in 10? We have 2. Okay, so 2 is our quotient. Multiplied by our numerator is what? 2 times 2, the answer is 4. So here, you have here the steps on changing this similar fraction to similar fraction. Divide the LCD by the given denominator. Then, its quotient should be multiplied by the numerator. So, as we get the similar fractions of our dissimilar fractions, we can now add, okay? So, 5/10 plus 4/10. So, just follow the step in adding similar fractions. Still, we will only add the numerator. So, 5 plus 4, we will get 9. Then, copy the denominator, which is 10. So, we have here 10. So, the answer is 9/10. Okay? So, So, once again, as you visualize adding dissimilar fractions, you should always consider the LCD, or the least common denominator. Then draw or illustrate the fractions. Then change the similar fraction to similar fractions by what? Paano? By dividing the LCD by the given denominator of your dissimilar fraction. Then, multiply the quotient to the numerator to get the new numerator for your similar fraction. You understand na, class? Okay, same step when we subtract dissimilar fractions. Okay, so as you can see here in the fraction part or fraction chart, 9/10 is the total also. Okay. As we illustrate the 1/2 and 1/5, as you can see here, is equivalent to 9/10. As we add the 1/2 and the 2/5. So here, as we count the orange, the shaded part, how many 1/10 was occupied? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9/10 is the final answer. The next one is how to subtract dissimilar fractions. Still, look for the LCD or LCM. Draw the regions or illustrations or number line on the given fractions. Change dissimilar fractions to similar fractions. Subtract the similar fractions and reduce to lowest term. So, we have here the example 5/10 and 1/5. As you can see, 5/10 and 1/5 have different denominator. We have denominator of 10 and 5. So, we still have to look for the LCD, right? Always follow the steps for you to answer the problem properly. So now, let us list down the multiple of 10 and 5. So 10, 20. Then we have 5, 10. Still, we will get the least common denominator, which is 10. So 10 here will be your LCD or least common denominator. So let us illustrate or visualize 1/5. Here in our fraction chart, the whole is divided into 5 parts. So we have here 1/5. Only the shaded part is the 1/5. Then we also have to visualize 5/10. So we have to shade 5 1/10 for us to get the 5/10, right? So we have 1 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which will enable us to come up with 5/10. So you can see now, class, the 1/5 and 5/10, right? Okay, so we already draw the regions or illustrations. Next, we have to change the dissimilar fraction to similar fractions. If the fraction or the common denominator you have right now is similar to your original fraction before, like here 5/10, and then the denominator is still 5/10, you don't need to divide it again. So just copy it if they have the same denominator. However, because 1/5 here have different denominator than our LCD, so you now have to divide. So 10 divided by 5, how many 5 do we have in 10? We have 2. Then 2 times 2, or 2 times 1 rather, is 2. So always remember to divide the LCD by the given denominator, then multiply the quotient to the numerator to get the new numerator, which we have now 2/10. So this time, we can now subtract. Pwede na kita makaiban. So 5/10 minus 2/10. So what part of the fraction should we only subtract? The numerator. Still the numerator. So 5 minus 2. Ang 5, ibanan sa 2. We will get the 3/10 as our answer. So that's it. So as you can see in the fraction chart, 3/10 is the difference also. Or the answer. Here, if we will subtract 1/5 from 5/10, we will cross out this part, which is equivalent to 1/5. So what is left here is the, how many tenths? 1, 2, 3. So 3/10. So do you now get it, class? Or can you visualize it properly? Okay, so I hope the fraction chart helps you a lot, and the steps in visualizing how to add and subtract similar and dissimilar fractions help you to understand our lesson for this week. So again, when we add dissimilar fractions or subtract dissimilar fractions, we have to look for the LCD, then draw the regions or illustrations or number line of the given fraction, change the dissimilar fractions to similar fraction, then you can add or subtract the similar fractions and reduce the lowest term. Okay. That's for adding and subtracting dissimilar fractions. And the last topic for this week is about visualizing how to subtract a fraction from a whole number. Okay. Renaming a whole number as a fraction is needed for you to subtract a fraction from a whole number. It's needed so that you have a common denominator or you have a mixed number. You may use or refer to the fraction chart from the activity sheet number 9 for you to visualize it. Remember, 1 whole is equivalent to 2 halves if it is divided into 2 parts. We have already discussed this earlier using the fraction chart, class, remember? Then 1 is still equivalent to 3/3 if it is divided into 3 parts, because we have 3 1/3 in a whole. Then still it is equivalent into 4/4 because the whole is divided into 4 parts and we have 4 1/4. Then it is also equivalent to 5/5 because it is divided into 5 and it is composed of 5 1/5. Then 6 because it is divided into 6 and it is composed of 6 1/6. And 7 if it is divided into 7 equal parts and it is composed of 7 1/7. And the number goes on and on. Then also in 2 whole, you have just to write the 1 as your whole number, or you will have to write a mixed number here. So 2 whole is equivalent into 1 and 2 halves. If the whole is divided into 2, then the list goes on into 1 and 3/3, 1 4/4, 1 5/5, 1 6/6, 1 7/7. So if we have 3 as your whole, it is equivalent also to 2 and 2 halves. That's all you have to write. So you have to change the whole into a fraction. So to visualize how to subtract a fraction from a whole number, you need to use illustrations, models, charts, and bar lines. So always remember that, class. So let's now go over to our example. Here's how you can subtract a fraction from a whole number. Rename the whole number into an improper fraction. Subtract the fractions. And the third one is to reduce in lowest term if applicable. So let's take this example. Mother bought 1 meter of plastic cover. She only used 1/4 of it to cover her notebook. What part of the plastic cover was left? Okay, now, this illustration represents 1 meter of plastic cover. So she only used 1/4. So it means mother divided the part into 4 equal parts. So 1 is equivalent to 4/4 because it is divided into 4 equal parts with 1/4 each, right? Okay. 1/4. 1/4, 1/4, and still 1/4 here. So what's our problem? What part of the plastic cover was left? Okay, now, so because we already renamed the whole number into an improper fraction, which is 4/4, we have now a similar fraction. So 4/4, which is equivalent to 1 minus 1/4 because it is the part which mother have used to cover her notebook. Okay, so we will just take the 1/4. Okay, this is the shade part. So 4/4 minus 1/4. So we will only have 3/4. So what is left is only 3/4 because 4/4 minus 1/4. 4 minus 1 is equal to 3. Then copy the denominator which is 4. So we have 3/4. So the final answer is 3/4 is the remaining part of the plastic cover. So that is how easy you can subtract a fraction from a whole number. You just have to rename the whole number to a fraction. Use the denominator of the given fraction to divide the whole number, okay? So for example, here, if the plastic cover was, if mother used, for example, 1/8, so you need to divide the whole into 8 equal parts. So which means you will have 8/8. So that's how you divide or rename the whole number into an improper fraction. So always refer to these steps when you encounter this problem or question in your module or in your learning activity sheets. So read the learning material in math on page 119 for other examples. So that's all for our lesson this week. So it is all about visualizing, adding, and subtracting similar and dissimilar fractions and a fraction from a whole number. So this is the end of my instructional video to all of you, for you to have a reference for the step-by-step process of how to visualize subtracting and adding of fractions. So I hope you have learned a lot from me. God bless, kids. You may now answer the activities or the questions in your modules or your learning activity sheets. Bye-bye! Hello, class. Good morning, everyone, or good day to all grade 4 pupils. Welcome to our math class. This is your mom, Shiny Grace. Welcome to the week 5 of our lesson. For this week, we will know how to change improper fraction to mixed numbers or mixed numbers to improper fraction. And also, we will know how to change fraction to its lowest form. Let's have first the review. What is fraction? So fraction is a number that represents a part of a whole. So here, as you can see, we have here a pie divided into 8 equal parts. And we have the